Hi, in this video, we will explore arrays and strings in Java 8. We'll start with arrays, how they work, their syntax, and how to use them in both 1 and 2 dimensions. Then we'll shift to strings, understand how they function, and how we can manipulate them in Java. What are arrays? If you are watching the series of this programming series, you would have observed that we started with a simple program called hello world, and from there we move to data type. And in data type we would have seen primary data types, who are the foundational building blocks of any programming language. And in that we would have seen the category of primary and then reference variable. So one such reference variable is array. Primary data variables will directly have values in it, whereas array will have the memory location, and in the memory location we will have the elements. So in this section what we will be seeing is an array can be called as collection of elements. You can compare it with something like a list of elements, like a basket which is containing multiple elements in it. And these elements are stored in a contiguous memory location. Think of it as a row of box where each box holds one value, like numbers or characters. Arrays are helpful when you need to store multiple values using a single variable. Now, when you compare this with the primary data type, for example, if you have int numbers equals to 100, number equal to 100, not numbers, not plural, a singular term. If I want to say one value into one data type, then I will go for primary data type, which is number. But now I wanted to store multiple values in one variable. So in that case, I will go for arrays or collections. So now we are focusing on array. So array is going to let you to store multiple elements. Let's look at the syntax of the array. So here we are seeing int type. So it starts with the type box bracket variable name equals to new operator int type box bracket with the number of elements in it, which is 5. 5 is the size of the elements I wanted to feed inside this array. So int my array is equals to new int of 5. So this statement will declare the size of the array. If I want to initialize the values inside it, then I will have to call my array equals to use curly brace and put the number of elements in it, close the curly brace, semicolon. So if I'll use my int array and put the 5 elements in it, I'm initializing the value inside the array. So you can write this in 2 lines, or you can write it in one single line and directly initialize the values in it. So this one line is only initializing the size of the declaring the size of the array. When you want to initialize the value, you put like this. And you can also exclude the step where you are declaring the size of the array. By directly putting the 5 elements in it, you are implicitly making the array to understand that 5 elements are loaded in it. So size of your array is 5. So let's look at one day array example. So to declare an array in Java, we can use square brackets. For example, int square bracket my array equals to new int of 5, which we have seen. So, and what do I mean by the size of array equals to 5? It means it can hold 5 integer value because we have used the type integer. If it is going to be char, then it can hold only 5 character values. I can either declare the size and assign the values later, or reassign the value directly like this. Now to access or print an element from this array, I use the index. Remember, array indexing starts from 0. So numbers square bracket, and I have passed 0 in it. So this is numbers of index 0 will give me output 1. So this is going to give me the first element. Now, in order to access all the elements from the array, you can use for loop. You can use the normal for loop, or you can use the enhanced for loop. So in the normal for loop, you will need 3 parts, which is your initialization, condition, and your increment or decrement operator. So your condition is you're initializing the integer I equals to 0 from 0, I less than numbers dot length. So this will return 5. So I less than 5. So from 0 till 5, it will be incrementing. So it will be printing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 is less than 5. When it becomes 5, it will not be having anything to print here because we have used less than element. if we'll use less than or equals to, we'll get an error here. So please be cautious when you use the numbers.length method. An additional point to be noted here, I'm using length method. I'm not saying I less than 5. I can say I less than 5 directly because the length of this numbers is 5. Better way of programming is using the method supported by array. And what is a method is something we will look into the upcoming chapters. But for now, there is a method supported by array type, and that is length. Use that in your conditional statement, and then while you're printing, use the index of I. So this I will change from 0 to 5, and this will be able to print your elements from the array. And for the enhanced for loop, your syntax is going to have two parts. Your first part is going to be type, which is integer, and variable for that, colon, and your collections, that is your array type. Then in the system.println, call the type variable which you have used. So this will print you all the 5 numbers. So this is more simpler than using your for loop with 3 parts. So that is how you will be accessing the one-dimensional array. So two-dimensional array. When you say two-dimensional array, see that has rows and columns. In one-dimensional array, you had int one square box bracket variable name. In two-dimensional array, you will have two square box bracket and the variable name. It's like a table with multiple rows and columns of data. So I have 3 rows with 3 elements in each. So I have 1, 2, 3, first row, second row is 4, 5, 6, third row is 7, 8, 9. So I'm to refer my elements in specific element in this matrix array, I will have to use 2 indices. If I'll say matrix of 0, index 0 and 1, I'm going to fetch the element which is the second element in the row. Strings in Java is an object that represents a sequence of characters. If you look at the array of integer type, it was a group of different numbers put together in a contiguous memory location. So strings are characters in a contiguous array. Unlike arrays, strings are immutable. This is a very key important point. One might get confused. So when you will have a number array, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and when you try to put numbers of index 0 is equals to 10. So initially you had index with 1, and now you are going to change it to 0. 0 index is equals to 10, and the first index to 20. And then if you're trying to print that array, you will have 10, 20, 3, 4, 5. So this is possible in integer array. Whereas if you'll come to string, you will not be able to do that. So for example, if you have string hello world, and then in the second line, if I'm going to reassign my str is equals to hey world, and then if the third line, if I want to print my str variable, I will be still printing hello world and not hey world because strings are immutable, meaning their values cannot be changed once they are created. This is a very important point to be noted for strings. Let's move on to manipulating the string. So manipulation of string is supported by methods like caret method, substring method, length method, equals method, and to lowercase method. So these are the most repeatedly used methods while comes to test automation. So you will need a length method whenever you're involving a string or array type or collections, because you will have to know the total number of elements present in that particular collection that you're using. So in this case, you're using string. Once if you know the length of the string, you will be able to locate every index of the particular string. So for example, length of the test automation sentence that is present for this variable of type string is, so sample variable is having test automation. When I'm trying to print the sample.length, it is going to give me output as 15. Also an extra note. So from this video, we are also seeing that we are using methods in it. Elaborate explanation of what a method is and how they are getting created and how they are getting referenced can be seen in the upcoming videos in a special topic, which is functional programming. But now let's just focus that there are some methods that is helping us to access the string. I'm going to keep it very simple and I'm not going to elaborate much on this thing. So when you have a string method, when you have a string variable, and then if you use dot operator and call a method called length. It will give you the length of that string. And when you call caret method and when you pass a value of number, so caret will take index actually. So when this will be giving you the character at particular index. If it is 0, so at this sample variable 0 is t, and substring will take two inputs, from and to. So 5 is from and 10 is to. So from a to yum will be printed because substring is going to give you substring of this sample variable. So this is the entire string. It is only going to return you substring, not the complete string. Another method that string supports is equals method. Equals method requires comparison of your initial string with the new string that you wanted to compare. So it takes string as an input and it needs two strings to compare, and the result will be Boolean result. So it will either give true or false. So in this, I'm trying to compare it with another string called test automation. When you look at it, this is also test automation. This is also test automation, but the case is different. So the result of this is going to be false. Finally, what we will be using is changing your string content to uppercase or lowercase. The example used here is to lowercase. It will change your variable's value into lowercase and your output will be test automation in this. Finally, what we have is string builder. String builder will be used when your strings are going to be frequently used in your test script. So for more efficiency, string builders are better than string because string is immutable. Whereas in string builder, you will be able to create a variable with a text value or a sentence, and later you will be able to add changes to that sentence and you will be able to use the same variable. That is the difference between string builder and the string. So for example, if you see string builder class, variable SB equals to new operator string builder and the value that I'm passing is hello. Now I'm using the same variable and I'm also trying to append it with a new word called world. So initially it had hello and I'm appending it with the dot append method. I'm passing the word world. And when I'm trying to print this SB dot to string method, I will be printing hello world. So this is not possible with the string class. This is doable with the string builder. So I'm keeping it short for this lecture. Let's see the demonstration of how the arrays and string builder will work in IntelliJ.